To my video about political machines in New York and their effect on immigrant life. So, in this video, I'm going to be mainly focusing on answering the question: did political machines do more to expand or limit the voice of immigrants in New York from 1850 to 1900? Let's start with the basics. So, what is a political machine, right? Um, Political machines, there's just like a boss or small group at the top that hold complete control over a political organization, and that organization must control enough votes to maintain power. Maintaining power just means that they have enough people's votes to have full say over the political and municipal affairs of a city, county, or state. And this includes filling important positions with favorable people. So it's really just a corrupt way of running a democracy. And then, so this is a graphic, organizer of just how a political machine works. So people vote for the machine, and then the machine maintains power over the city. And then with that power, it controls the city politics. And then, oftentimes, the machine is run by a powerful boss, and the machine gives back to its voters through patronage. So let's focus back on political machines in New York, right? Between 1850 and 1900, several political machines existed, including the Conkling plat machine. However, none of them were nearly as dominant or important as Tammany Hall, which we're about to talk about. So, Tammany Hall was founded in 1788 in opposition to the aristocratic elite in New York, who successfully linked suffrage to freeholders. If you're unfamiliar with what freeholders is, it just means they own land. Um, and after its founding, Tammany Hall continued to oppose Federalists and help Jefferson get elected. This background is important because it helps us understand what goals the organization had at its founding and how that ties into immigration in the 1850s. And we can see how like the same goals of trying to get more people suffrage come into play much later on. By 1806, the boss leadership that we talked about before had begun to stick, and the rise of Boss Tweed and his cronies led to the eventual formation of the most dominant political machine. So, Boss Tweed, uh, William Meager Boss Tweed, was born in 1823. He was elected alderman in 1851, and an alderman is just an elected member of a municipal court. And he slowly began to climb the ranks of political power. Fast forward to 1860, he is now heading Tammany Hall's General Committee and has held many important positions of power in the city. During his time, he gave key city and county posts to his cronies, establishing what would become the Tweed Ring. Um, this political cartoon depicts the control that Tweed had over the city. So you can see the words in counting their strength, and like towards the bottom, you can see that there's like the text that says, "As long as I count the votes, what are you going to do about it?" Say. So this political cartoon just kind of highlights the really just immense control that Tweed had over the city and how he kept power by controlling the vote. And then his downfall eventually came at the hands of his own greed, right? Tweed and his ring smuggled an estimated 50 to $200 million, which comes out to about 1.2 to 4.9 billion dollars in today's money. So just a huge amount of money, right? And then political cartoonist Thomas Nast, which this cartoon and this one are both by him, did a lot to help bring him down and put light to his crimes. So like this first one is once again just about like his control over politics and kind of the corruption going on, and then this is about him smuggling money. Okay, so back to like Tammany Hall and his benefits on immigrants, right? So rewinding a little, entering into the 1850s, nativism was surging throughout the U.S., and Tammany Hall provided great relief to these incoming immigrants, especially the Irish, and it made them feel welcome. So they did this by providing immigrants with jobs, social support, and helping them assimilate, right? Tammany Hall provided immigrants with jobs in many ways, but mainly it happened through public works projects. Uh, since like these projects were under the direction of Tammany Hall itself, it would be easy for them to choose what workers were hired. And Tweed also offered lots of jobs through patronage. This benefited immigrants who voted for him by securing the local government positions. All in all, Tweed made sure that immigrants looking for work found work and would be able to provide for themselves. Circling back to our central question, providing these jobs greatly expanded the voice of immigrants by helping them become working class citizens. Tammany Hall recognized the basic needs of immigrants, and not only did they provide jobs, but they also gave social support. They ensured that immigrants would have housing and food, and something that just shows the extent to which like Tweed and like Hall cared about immigrants is that they would even pay for coal to heat their houses in the winter, and that's kind of just like saying like they're really going the extra step to give support to immigrants. And then here at the bottom it just says like fast solutions to problems, and what that really just means is that um, immigrants could talk directly to the hall to get issues resolved. So, like, these issues ranged greatly. It could be like a sanitation problem or just like the need for a sidewalk. But immigrants were able to just directly talk to the hall and work out solutions instead of wasting lots of time or risking like their request being lost in excessively complicated government system. So this was especially important at the time since immigrants did not have many places to turn to. The final and probably biggest way the Hall expanded the voice of immigrants was through assimilation. They helped immigrants assimilate by guiding them through the naturalization process. So, like this included like filling out paperwork, providing witnesses, and even lending money for fees to various immigrants. And thanks to support from Tammany Hall, many immigrants became citizens and were familiarized with American political institutions. So although it may seem like everything we just talked about, like the Hall is doing everything it can to benefit immigrants, there's always two sides to history. And Tammany Hall did hurt immigrants and limited their voice through corruption and exploitation, right? So we've already talked about the corruption that happened and like the money that was stolen. So Tweedy and his cronies siphoned money out of the city through inflated public projects prices and more. And these actions deeply hurt immigrants by draining public resources that could have been used to benefit them. And then touching on exploitation, right? The machine did take steps to help immigrants. However, those were really just to serve its own needs. Immigrant concerns were secondary, and the system of rewards that was built really just left immigrants dependent on the Hall. And to answer the question, did political machines do more to expand or limit the voice of immigrants in New York from 1850 to 1900? I just want to say that, like, while the Hall did hurt and limit their voices through corruption and exploitation, ultimately it provided an invaluable service to immigrants at the time, uh, especially with the Know Nothing Party, where there's a lot of nativist backlash, and overall it just expanded their voice by giving them jobs, social support, and helping them assimilate. These are some of the sources that I had, and thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I hope you learned something about either Tammany Hall, political machines, or just immigrant life in the Gilded Age.